Hi, Steve Stolberg here with monthly painting video number 75, made in Kuala Lumpur, March 2020. This month it's a dragon and a ship on fire, first inspired by this thought I had of a dragon flapping its wings over water. It would be, a huge amount of wind happening there, and it should be on a par with helicopter, because a helicopter will weigh about the same as your average fantasy dragon, I estimate. And to keep a helicopter hovering, you need to push this amount of air down. So I googled images of helicopters, and I googled images of fire. Especially this one is good because it shows me how it's reflecting on water. But when I'm putting these two together, it's not really, it doesn't look very exciting to me. I might have missed some other way how to put this together so that you can still see the detail in the waves and the downdraft and the wind, etc. So I just changed my whole approach and went with a lower point of view and a ship to catch on fire. So here's some references for a ship catching on fire. You just gotta keep googling. Image Google, I guess Bing as well, all those different ones. And I have here the animation, which I will start. Yeah, I focused on this this different composition here. Now I already sketched this out. It took a long time to sketch. I'm skipping the sketching stage this time because it was a long series of starting over, and this is a painting video, not a sketching video. For this reason, it's also a little bit shorter than usual, as you see. But you could see on if you go back and look at my first attempt there, my first sketch, you can see the ship was abysmal, and it needs to be constructed. I mean, if you have a ship in 3D, that's even better. Use your 3D model, or use a simple 3D model that you make, especially for this. In Blender or Maya or Max or whatever, and use that and trace it. That's perfectly admissible, allowable. Nobody sets down these firm rules, but there are some rules that you don't use other people's photos or drawings. But since you made this one yourself, that should be fine. If you you could actually model this whole scene very expertly, and then actually it would be fun to do this in 3D completely. But as you can see there, I put some things on layers, flattening in and roughing in color, arranging the layers logically. You can see here background, fire, ship, dragon, wave 1, wave 2, that's those big waves in the foreground, fire 2, which is coming here, and that is most of the fire most of the flames that are actually on the ship. And the sketch is on top, of course, which I'm going to switch off the sketch soon. Here I'm roughing in, how the fire lights the atmosphere in the background, the smoke and the steam rising from the water, and instead of, because everything is going to be so dark here that you will hardly see the smoke, you'll hardly see the steam, but you will see the firelight reflecting off of them. So that's the important part to render here. Here I am detailing the ship. Oh, and also for the background I used a streaky brush, which I'll show you. I can pause this right now. I can show you the what the brush looks like. It's loading. It's this shape. This is the shape that I used, and these are the settings. And you can pause the video here, but I'll send these along to my patrons as well. You can have a look. But these are the settings, very simple settings, as you can see. Just the tip shape, the shape dynamics, and transfer switched on. Just these three here. Nothing fancy, but you can see it does create a painterly effect, and I'm going to use this throughout this. See, I'm still using it on the dragon there. I used it for the waves and for the firelight, and here I'm working on those reflections. And I'll pause it here for a moment just to describe to you the I'm just checking. Yeah, I should also mention, I mean, you can download 1,000 brushes. Like some guy complained that I don't, I never sell brushes along with my videos. You can download 1,000 brushes better than mine for free by Googling. Or you can make them yourself by Googling how to make them. I got most of mine for free off the internet too. That, you know, either one of those ways, downloaded, made them myself. It's very simple brushes. Like this streaky brush is one that I made, and it's very simple, as you saw. I'm not going to sell any of the free brushes that I downloaded to someone else, pretending I made it. That's just not good. So I made the burning holes in the sails. Very simple at first, but I'm going to detail them later. And for the burning ship, you can also Google burning wooden buildings. You know, there's lots of those. At nighttime, you need nighttime pictures for this because it's dark. And the trick for the fire reflection that I was going to get to, make sure the water already has some texture on it, which it does, you can see here. There are a couple of ways to do this. In my case, I used that streaky brush I mentioned, you know, with slight changes in color, a few strokes on top of each other with slight variations. And then you use the magic wand tool with a setting, a threshold that you may have to play with a little bit, but you know, somewhere between 10 and 30, I imagine. It depends on your variations. It depends on how strong your variations are. And you should get this broken up. You should get this broken up texture, which you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to subtract from. Like here, you can see I've been subtracting based on the reference shapes, because you don't want this noise texture everywhere. You know, you want a big, nice, solid chunk in the middle where it's going to reflect most of the light. From right about here is where most of the light coming down on the water is coming from, this area, coming down like that and then bouncing into your eyeballs. And less here, you know. So more in the center, more strong shapes in the center, and then more of the noisy, smaller shapes towards the edges like this. And also less here and more here. Like the further away from the ship you go towards the camera, the more spread there will be like that. You know. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. And then adding the color inside of this selection is easy, and also of course keep it on a separate layer so that you can paint behind it. Like right now I'm painting behind it this dull reddish glow, which I think helps a lot. And I did this pretty much everywhere on this painting. I have two layers for almost every piece of fire. Like the stronger piece has this yellow orangey layer, and then below that I do this dull red hot, sort of a bit like glowing iron, like red hot glowing iron. Not too red, like you see right there, I may have gone a little bit too red there. You don't want Santa Claus red or fire engine red. That's overdoing it. I'm getting a little bit of that there, but I'm going to mute it a bit later. Since it's on a separate layer, it's easy to play with, easy to adjust, easy to tweak and fix it later. See, right now I'm erasing parts. I'm just selecting and deleting parts on that layer, and darkening these parts a little bit with the brownish red. And then some brighter spots here. Remembering to follow the shape of the waves. I also used a noisy brush, which is a bit like leaves on the ground. They're almond shapes with horizontally positioned, with random scattering and random rotation. A little bit, a touch of random rotation. Now I'm going to detail the the fire, and you see that that's the same brush there. It's basically leaves on the ground. I call it leaves, but it's smudged, you know. I'm going to smudge it more later. But it does create this kind of flamey sort of feeling. It had also scattering of color, so if you put yellow on it, it's going to give you a little bit of orange, a little bit of lighter, a little bit of darker yellow, you know, some random variations on the hue and the tone there. And now I'm doing some rigging. I'll do some more later, but this is some rigging, and I'm trying to make it not look drawn there, like drawn by pencil. I'm trying to make it look more painterly, which is a bit tricky. But if you you know, push back the opacity a bit, and if you blur it a bit, you can smudge it a bit. There are a few things you can do, and you can also lock the transparency and go over it with this dull red glowy, the red glow color, so to speak, so that it isn't black, you know, because black lines on top of yellow, they're gonna look kind of greenish, so that's really bad. That's why I'm consciously trying to put this red glow around every yellow bit, you know, but on another layer below. So all the, like I mentioned before, all the bright yellow bits and the bright orange bits are on a top layer, and then below that I'm trying to put a touch of red glow around everything. I guess you wouldn't call this red actually if you saw it by itself. It's gonna look more like brick red or reddish brown, but you know what I mean. If you look at this image, you see what I mean. And you can also have a look at the finished one. Actually, I should probably make it a bit bigger. And here I was doing the translucent wave in the foreground. It's supposed to be foam. The dark parts are supposed to be foam on top, flowing down the crest. As the foam is a bit less transparent than the water, it will show up darker in this lighting situation. And I'm adding some more spray, some more water foamy white, but of course it's not white. It's like dark gray, and when where the firelight hits it, it's even, you know, it's got that warm orangey brown tone. Now let's see, where are we? Yeah, sparks, adding sparks, having them on their own layer again makes them very easy to work with later. Like I can make them smaller, like this, move them around, erase, you know. And I can change all their color at the same time if I want to, but I'm fairly happy with this. That is the one place where I wasn't adding the, you know, the reddish brown in another layer below, because that would look strange. A spark is a spark. It's not going to have this red glow around it. But you can see the fire here has this red glow below, on a layer below. If you get the PSD, you can see that. You can study the layers and see that. Make a rough selection, smudge it like this. It's a great way to paint clouds and smoke. It's easy to work with. Here you see I'm adding, and this is another brush. This is like a cloud brush or something. It has this big cloud shape on it. This is another one that I got for free from the internet, and I think it's a very popular one because it's from a collection that I can't remember the name now, but like everybody I know has it. Every digital artist that I know has it. So you should be able to find it if you look for free brushes. You know, this is one of the most popular ones that you'll find. But you can make your own again. You can just paint a cloudy shape and use that as a pattern, and you have the same thing. Here I'm playing with each layer separately, using auto contrast, using you know, curves to see how dark should this be, and then I'm using fade. You can see fade down here in the lower right hand corner. So I go overboard, pardon the pun, and then fade it back. I do that a lot. I do that all the time. Like too much, fade back. Too much, fade back. Right there I did it again. Opacity 22. And here I'm adding more spray. or steam. It could be at a certain point. Water vapor and steam are interchangeable. So trying to light it a little bit with the firelight glow. And here I'm behind the ship. I'm on the lowest layer in the background, darkening it with this brush tool right here. And now I'm just checking the thumbnail, compositional. Easy. And I'm fading that again. I'm increasing the glow by going too far, but I'm fading it back to just 10%. Originally the dragon was much bigger and closer to the ship. I moved him away. Now right at the end I moved him a little bit closer again to the ship, just for compositional reasons. Here I'm doing it again. I'm adding glow to a part and then fading it back down to 10%. It just helps me to see, I can see clearly where I'm placing it, and then I reduce it. Here I'm comparing before after with the compositional change that I did, moving. I made the dragon a little smaller, and the rider a little smaller as well, and moved it a little bit closer. Now that's it. It's done. I think I didn't change much from the last version that you just saw now, and you can see the smudgy brushes here are really doing a nice service here. And right at the end, also I want to mention this. I used the same streaky shape that I showed you, the same shape, the same brush shape, for a smudge brush. So I have a smudge brush which is called streaky smudge or something like that. So the streaky smudge, I don't use it a lot in the beginning, but right at the end. So you can see here, for instance, I just put some touches here and there, like one there, and maybe one here, bit on the dragon, just to break up some shapes and just to make it look a bit more painterly. And it's basically very simple settings. It's a smudge brush, but I'm using that other pattern, that I showed you before earlier. Okay, well, that's it. Thanks for your support, and see you next month.